Imagine a grand building in the heart of New York City, with shiny marble floors and sparkling chandeliers. It's not just any hotel, it's the Plaza Hotel, a place where famous stars have stayed and fancy parties have happened. But what if I told you that this hotel didn't just host celebrities? It quietly hosted billion-dollar deals, big changes in politics, and money decisions that affected the whole world. Behind the luxury and glamour, history wasn't just watched, it was made. Powerful people met in secret rooms, whispering plans that shaped economies. While the outside world saw beauty, the inside hid stories of power, money, and sometimes dark secrets. Let's dive into the tale of the Plaza, America's most famous hotel, and uncover what really went on behind its doors. The Plaza Hotel opened its doors in 1907, right at the corner of 5th Avenue and 59th Street in New York City. It was built to be the fanciest hotel in the world, costing a whopping $12.5 million. That's like billions today. The first guest was a rich man named Alfred Gwynne Vanderbilt, who walked through its revolving doors like a king. From the start, the Plaza was a symbol of wealth. It had 800 rooms, each with fancy bathrooms, telephones, and even a system of tubes to send messages quickly between floors. The building was made of white marble with beautiful paintings on the ceilings and gold details everywhere. It looked like a castle from a fairy tale, complete with 5 grand staircases, 10 elevators, and 1,650 crystal chandeliers that sparkled like stars. But it wasn't just for show. The Plaza became a magnet for the richest and most powerful people. Bankers, factory owners, politicians, and even kings and queens stayed there. To the public it was a place of elegance, like a dream of luxury. But to the elite, the super rich and influential, it was a spot for opportunity. In certain rooms, away from prying eyes, money moved in special ways. Deals were whispered over fancy dinners. Fortunes were won or lost in quiet talks. Sometimes, these meetings made entire economies shake. For example, in the early days, big business leaders would gather there to plan how to grow their companies, which helped America become a strong industrial nation. Luxury like this often hides things that powerful people don't want others to see. The Plaza had its share of secrets right from the beginning. During construction in 1906, there was a violent incident known as the Medea murder. A watchman named Michael Butler, a retired policeman working as security, got into a fight with iron workers over union issues. He was hit over the head, fell 3 stories from the 8th floor scaffolding to the 5th, and died. Newspapers went wild with stories of murder in the sky, and 4 workers were accused at first, but after a trial, they were cleared and it was ruled an accident from the chaos. Workers even left his body on the scaffolding for a while before anyone did much. This bloody start set a tone for the hotel, beautiful outside, but with shadows and danger hidden in its history. As America grew richer in the early 1900s, the Plaza stood tall as a hub for the wealthy. Writers like F. Scott Fitzgerald partied there. He once jumped into the fountain outside fully clothed. It was a place where dreams seemed possible, but only for those with money and connections. Famous early guests included barbed wire magnate John Bettemillion Gates, who took a huge suite, and even a mysterious Hungarian princess with murky royal lineage who added her own layer of intrigue. As America turned into a big industrial country, with factories popping up everywhere, financial power grew to hotels like the Plaza became neutral ground, places where important people could meet without anyone keeping official records. No boring boardrooms, just cozy suites and fancy lounges. These were spots for private meetings and unseen negotiations. When stock markets were shaky or money values were unstable, the Plaza turned into more than just a building. It became like a secret base for power, money, and control. Think about it. In the 1920s, during the Roaring Twenties, rich people flocked there. But behind the parties, bankers and politicians made deals that affected everyone's lives. For instance, during Prohibition, when alcohol was illegal, the hotel still served drinks in hidden ways, showing how rules didn't always apply to the elite. The Plaza wasn't just architecture, it was infrastructure for influence. It disguised itself as luxury, but really it was a financial nerve center. Powerful guests like Conrad Hilton, who later bought the hotel, saw it as a way to build empires. But then problems started bubbling up. The world wasn't always stable. Wars loomed, economies wobbled, and big piles of money needed protection. The Plaza became a safe haven for these talks. No one outside knew what was said, but the decisions rippled out to the world. This setup created conflict. While everyday people struggled, the elite at the Plaza reshaped things to their advantage. It raised questions. Who really controls the money, and why do these meetings happen in secret? One big moment that showed this was in 1985, called the Plaza Accord. Finance ministers from big countries like the US, Britain, Japan, Germany, and France met secretly at the hotel. They agreed to lower the value of the US dollar to help America's economy. This deal changed global trade and money flows, all decided in the Plaza's rooms. Then came the crashes, the big turning points that shook everything. The most famous was the stock market crash of 1929, which started the Great Depression. Markets collapsed, people lost jobs, and fortunes vanished overnight. But fear didn't hit everyone the same. At the Plaza, some guests lost everything, while others saw chances to get richer. Behind closed doors, strategies were formed. Bankers and investors met to figure out how to protect their money or buy up cheap assets. Crises don't just destroy wealth, they redistribute it. The Plaza sat at the center of these quiet conversations that few ever heard. For example, during the Depression, a group of rich widows, older women with lots of money, became the hotel's lifeline. They lent cash to keep it open when banks wouldn't. These dowager widows saved the Plaza, showing how hidden networks of wealth worked. This raises a tough question: who benefits when chaos hits the economy? Often it's the people already in power, meeting in places like the Plaza. But the real story isn't just about one crash. Over the years, more shocks came. In 1943, Conrad Hilton bought the Plaza for $7.4 million during World War II. Even with rationing no extra food or supplies, he spent millions fixing it up, opening the legendary Oak Room and updating everything despite wartime limits like no extra toilet paper or meatless Mondays. It hosted soldiers, spies, and diplomats. Rumors say a German spy was caught there once. Another scandal: jewelry heists and shady deals. Rich guests' gems were stolen, and some owners hid in secret rooms to spy on buyers, like when Donald Trump tried to keep control. The turning points kept coming. In the 1980s, Trump bought the Plaza for $407.5 million, or borrowed money. He called it his Mona Lisa, but it was a bad deal. He put his wife Ivana in charge, paying her partly in dresses, while the hotel hosted wild parties where young people mingled with rich older men. Within 4 years, Trump bankrupted the Plaza, the only owner ever to do so. The debt was too high, and no amount of events could pay it off. Citibank took over and sold it to a Saudi prince and a Singapore billionaire. They had to deal with Trump's spying tricks, like hiding an executive in a secret room to listen in on negotiations. More wild moments added to the chaos. In 1972, armed robbers took over a dozen hotel staff as hostages and stole $265,000 from the safe, including jewels and cash. The thieves got away at first, but police caught them later. It showed even the fanciest places could turn into crime scenes. Celebrity trouble didn't stop there. In 2010, actor Charlie Sheen trashed the famous Eloise suite named after the fun kids' book character who lives at the hotel. High on drugs, naked, and angry after partying with a companion, he threw furniture, smashed a chandelier, and caused about $7,000 in damage. His young daughters were sleeping nearby in the same suite area with their mom, Denise Richards, who called for help. Police found him out of control. It was a messy, scary scene in such a classy spot. Over the decades, the pattern repeated. Wars, recessions, and financial crises came and went, but the Plaza stayed a spot for the same types of guests: investors, power brokers, and decision-makers. Wealth doesn't vanish, it moves to new hands. Influence doesn't disappear, it gets stronger in fewer people. The Plaza was a silent witness to this. During World War II, it hosted important meetings that helped shape the post-war world. In the 1960s, the Beatles stayed there during their first US visit, hiding from fans while the world changed around rock music and youth culture. The manager only allowed them after his daughter begged, and they were perfectly behaved. No noise at all. Truman Capote's Black and White Ball in 1966 was the party of the century, with guests in masks including Frank Sinatra, Mia Farrow, and Andy Warhol. It was held in the Grand Ballroom to celebrate his book In Cold Blood, but it later caused feuds and scandals that hurt Capote's friendships. Later, in the 2000s, an Indian tycoon named Subrata Roy owned it. He was accused of a huge Ponzi scheme, tricking poor people out of savings, and ran the hotel from a prison cell 7,000 miles away in India. Through it all, the Plaza saw capital reshape itself again and again. Sold multiple times to Russians, Qataris, and others, it became part condo, where foreign money hid through secret companies. This hollowed out the hotel, turning rooms into empty luxury shells for part-time use by billionaires like Robert Kraft or Tommy Hilfiger. An uncomfortable truth: power protects itself, even in tough times. The Plaza's history shows how the elite bounce back, while others suffer. Today, power doesn't always look like old kings or big factories. It looks like networking events, conferences, and luxury getaways. But the rules for money are the same. It gathers in hidden spots, negotiates deals, and protects itself. Behind the elegance of modern hotels and meetings, the infrastructure for influence still exists. Think about today's billionaires. They meet at places like Davos or fancy resorts, making decisions that affect jobs, prices, and even the environment. The Plaza teaches us that history repeats in new ways. If buildings like this shaped financial past, where are today's quiet decisions made? Maybe in tech company campuses, private jets, or exclusive clubs. We should ask, who benefits from these secrets? And how can regular people see through the glamour? History isn't always out in the open. Sometimes, it's negotiated in private rooms, away from the light. If you found this story fascinating, think about other symbols of power. What about Wall Street's hidden trading floors or Washington, D.C.'s quiet lobbies? Tell me, what other places should we uncover next?